Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome you all to the first Irish Unionist broadcast. This will be the first one out of a series of broadcasts where we will be having guests and members of the Irish Unionist Party movement on live to answer your questions and to show up the news of future events and to talk about Irish news and the current events going on. We will have two guests today. We have our member. Well, actually, I'll just let them introduce themselves. All right.
I suppose I'll start. My name's Evan. I'm an 18-year-old. I'm from County Louth in the Republic of Ireland, and I'm a Southern Unionist.
My name is Matthew, and I'm from Munster. I'm an Orangeman, and I'm a Southern Unionist as well.
Well, I would like to thank these two members for coming on, and
Yeah.
I
Thanks for
know
having
it
us.
is. I know it's the first stream, and it's going to be very awkward, and you know, there's a lot of expectations. I was planning to have two other members on, two of our Limerick branch, but sadly they couldn't make it due to work. Uh, and our Leash member couldn't make it due to college work getting in the way. But we will have them on a future stream. So I guess we'll just start off by talking about the recent news traction that's been going on, because the Irish Unionist Party has been getting a lot of media of late. Um, we had the Kilkenny People's newspaper reach out to us and put us in their newspaper, and Belfast Telegraph, which is pretty big, I think. And I don't know when it's going to be airing, but we do. I have finished my interview for Kilkenny Radio, so that might be, you know, going live on the weekends. So, I mean, I'll shout it out the radio station to listen to if you are a Kilkenny local, if you want to listen to it. But I guess I'll let Evan or Matthew talk about what their whole experience is as a sovereign unionist.
Yeah, sure. Just before, I seen Joey Obia. I don't know how to say that name. Apologies. He said, "Why won't you show your faces?" Well, lads, that's I don't have a camera on my PC. Maybe that's something I can look into getting in the future. But come back to Tristan's question, what it's like to be a Southern Unionist. For the most part, it's not very different at all to just being just a normal Irish lad. I still feel very Irish. Don't feel very different from the rest, but I do feel kinship with the United Kingdom. I do feel British. I have an affinity with the culture and the people. So, but being a Southern Unionist, most people they don't really take the idea seriously, which is it's kind of disheartening. But at the same time, it's kind of just a work in progress. We need to change that, make it more common. We need to make it so people won't sneer at the fact if I say, oh, I'm a Southern Unionist, people will go, okay, that's fine. You're allowed, have your own opinion, your own beliefs, and it won't be, people won't sneer and say, that's stupid, you're a traitor, etc., etc. Have I had, any negative experiences? Definitely, I've had, conversations with people who, they've, flat out to my face, been very, very disrespectful. But that's to be expected. In the Republic of Ireland, people are very, very protective of these things. The country, they like to. That's. I'm not gonna say it's right or wrong to be like that. That's just the way people are. Certain amount of people, especially in my county, County Louth, very, especially up in the northern part, very Republican sort of area. But that's just that. I hope hope people in here take us serious. We are Southern Unionists, so I hope you don't sneer at that and laugh. I hope you accept that. And if Matthew wants to give his experience.
All right, well, I don't know really where to start. I'm an Orangeman from Munster, of course. Which the experiences I have are sometimes they're good ones, but there's also the bad ones where, like Evan said, you'd get sneered at, laughed at, and said, why the fuck are you in this country? Why don't you go back to England? Even though my family are Irish, no connections to England at all. But connections to Britain, yes, we do have that. As being a unionist in the south, again, what Evan said about that we're still Irish, we still feel it, but we feel more like British because, again, the country from its founding was part of the UK, and then when the Republic came along, there was still British people in the south. There was also people who were, unionists and loyal to the crown. So they forget that bit, that we're people who've been here as long as they have been here, and we want to be accepted for what we believe in and not be punished severely like other people who have either been shot for having different beliefs or something bad has happened to them. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, just to add on to that, we're not trying to force our beliefs down your throat or anything like that. We just want to be respected, and we don't want people to feel like we're trying to like push it down their neck. Like this is you have to accept. We just don't want. We just want you to be like just be okay with it. You don't have to be negative towards it. Try to not just be negative towards Irish unionism. Try to have come in with a clear head. Think well, this is fine. This is what they believe. That's fine. I believe my things. They believe their things. That's just let them have their beliefs. You don't have to be negative towards it, which a lot of people are, of course, in the south. I know from personal experience, which is a shame.
I would just like to add that a lot of things that have been going on, especially these like news articles, where they say Tristan has been threatened and all that. It wasn't just me who's been threatened, by the way. I'd say that's the one negative thing about this whole news thing has been it's mostly been focused on me and not the actual overall movement. But yeah, we will be having future public events. Well, sort of events, more of just meetups. So if any of you are like interested to meet other Irish Unionists in real life and to sit down and have a discussion whenever, you can just pay attention to the Twitter feed or the Facebook group, and they will be both announced. I have a planned event in Kilkenny, hopefully in the future, whenever I am able to get like a town council like approval for it and to check the law on a lot of things. Mainly just because I want to avoid accidentally causing a disturbance. But that will also be announced in the future. But I mean, we had a we had a meeting up in Limerick once. Matthew, you were there at that meeting?
Yeah, I was up at that meeting.
Yeah. Sadly, we weren't able to get everyone out because that was during the phase where we were still,
Building the party up as well.
yeah, we were just
It
sat
was
there.
just starting.
Yeah, we were sort of sat there scoping around, making sure we're not getting like, secret like Republicans in disguise who are like pretending to be Unionists. I don't know what they would have planned to do if it was, but like we've had that experience where there has been a Republican or two have been like, "Oh yeah, I'm a Unionist. Could I come into your movement?"
Yeah, you have to be very bitter and not a lot to do. You obviously don't have a lot of responsibilities in your life if that's what you're spending your time doing, because that seems like a very very sad thing to do. Just let people do their own thing. You don't have to you don't have to ruin it just because you don't approve of it. Very very
Absolutely.
strange.
That meeting went actually pretty well and sort of extended into 2 days where we were just sort of going around Limerick, putting up stickers and, just having a good time going to all the historical places. We saw a sort of major like Republican store in Limerick, which we ended up sticking a sticker in front of, uh, which led to some funny comments from one of our Limerick members who sort of just said, if you think I'm sticking around for whenever they come out, you have another thing coming. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to going down to Limerick in the coming weeks again to meet up with some new members that we've gotten, because we've got even more new members over the past sort of week or so. We have our first Donegal member. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Can I say something?
yep.
So the part about the Republicans telling us that we can't have our thing and they can only have their thing. But the way I would say it is, don't bother a good man who isn't hurting anyone with what he is doing, because we aren't bothering anyone. We're not going
Yeah.
to turn around and say, oh, we don't believe your beliefs. We're not going to just turn around and just shoot you, because that's not very wise. Not at all.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Not hurting anyone, you know. It's a bit ridiculous, death threats and all that. It's very, very, very strange, and I'm not sure I understand the mentality of the people who are doing it. Very strange.
Well, one of the guys who sent a picture of a gun to one of our members, I won't say the member anymore because he left. I actually know the guy's family quite well, and he decided to leave. And mind you, it wasn't really any shock that he would leave the movement after that, to be honest, because he wasn't really like, his family wouldn't be the very, like, they haven't got very much to lose stakes wise. But the guy he got a death threat from with the gun, that was actually, according to one of my friends, it could have been false information, but I have a reason to believe that was very much so the case. It was some drug dealer from Cork area, or slightly outside North Cork. It was a very like, he partook in taking like drugs like cocaine and stuff. So that's the sort of people that the IUP's had to deal with so far. That's not a very enjoyable thing to have sent to you in the morning whenever you're trying to have your tea.
Yeah, exactly.
Tristan, would you mind if I answered a question?
Which
Or will we
question?
leave that to the end?
I
The
think
one
we
about
should.
the army structure in a unionist Ireland.
Oh yeah, sure. Just sort of. We're just basically trying to
Well,
restore
the
some of the
way
old regiments.
the army structure in a unionist Ireland would be by using the regiments that we already have, which serve the crown, such as the Irish Guards, the Royal Irish Regiment, but also by bringing back the older regiments that were disbanded when the Free State happened, such as the Royal Munster Fusiliers, Connacht Rangers. They all have very rich history in the provinces that they were made, and a lot more regiments, such as the Dublin Fusiliers, I believe the Royal Leinsters, and a lot more regiments would work. So that's that. I hope you're pleased with the answer to that question.
You know, it's not too outlandish to believe that an Irishman would serve in the British Army. I can speak from experience. On my mother's side of the family, a lot. You know, I have an uncle in the RAF, a few cousins in the regular British Army. You know, it's just, for some people, it's just you know, the Irish military doesn't really appeal to them, and they just go for the British one. You know, there's nothing wrong with that.
I think it has quite a lot to do with the sort of pay and everything out of
For
it,
sure, yeah, exactly, yeah. You know,
and
as
the
well as,
qualifications you will get from it.
yeah, as well as the fact that, you know, it's not like you join like a foreign regiment or anything. You know, you can join an Irish, you know, an Irish regiment, which is perfect for Irish people. You know, it's I can say for sure. You know, I've had family members consider it and are going to go ahead with it. You know, I've certainly considered it myself. It's not. There's no shame in it at all. No shame in it.
Absolutely. Um, I guess if I've not seen any other real questions, but I mean, we just to say we have made contact with quite a few organizations and all that sort of thing because I've had news people ask me. I had the Belfast Telegraph woman ask me, has any northern parties shown their support, or has any actual like officials shown support for our movement? I mean, we have had quite a few official people who are part of larger parties, north and south of the border, openly support it. And I mean, they're not unionists. Majority of them aren't actually like, unionists, because obviously they're part of Republican parties down south in the Republic of Ireland. But they do still think that's a good idea because in a 32 county Ireland, if you're meant to have a united Ireland, then you'll have to have a unionist voice within that 32 county Ireland. Otherwise, you're just silencing a group that sees themselves as British and unionist and have no actual, like, they don't see any prospect in taking part within a united Ireland, uh, to give them the option to voice themselves as unionists and to say that we oppose this sort of structure. I think that's a very important thing that a lot of Republicans need to realize. A lot of them will either scoff it off and, sneer at the idea, or just sort of belittle you over it,
Hmm.
which is uh, it just sort of shows that a lot of Republicans don't have any intention of taking part in a 32 county Ireland. Meanwhile, people of Fianna Gael and Fianna Fáil, uh, like, views would say, "Oh, absolutely, we would support this idea," which I've had quite a lot of. But people that like support Sinn Féin and all that have been just completely against it,
Yeah,
which is a bit.
it's quite telling, isn't it? They won't. The Republicans have no time, no respect for the Irish Unionist Party. How are they going to get on in an event of United Ireland when you have, 1 million people uh, come part of your country and they're Unionists? It's ridiculous, and they just won't respect it. I don't see how it's going to work out.
Yeah. Here's a question from Peter. I can't say. I'm sorry, I can't say the last name properly, but
Peter McSimon.
Max Simon.
yeah, yeah. I didn't want to butcher it by accident. But no, we have had contact with northern parties, members from the major parties, and members of independent, like, we groups, and they've all sort of shown their support for it. Um, I mean, they're going to indirectly support it, but yeah. Anyways, is there something that you guys would like
Right,
to?
I have something else to say. Who said it again? I think it was Oisin O'Mahony about if a united Ireland ever happened, you'd have to make room for the Unionist culture. And I agree, because if there ever is a united Ireland, which I don't see a Republican one happening, because it would cause turmoil and civil war over it. But if it did happen, you would probably have close to 2 million Unionists, and you would
Right.
have to make space for a culture in the country.
Well, it's sort of like more of like around 800,000 to 1.2 million unions, but they are Yeah, that's right. If you didn't allow that, you'd be silencing a population the size of Connacht from having their political opinion heard. Which, if you could imagine, if in the Dáil Éireann they just suddenly decided, see all the seats in Connacht, we're just stopping them. There's no more votes allowed in Connacht, or any Connacht parties will have to disband, or you'll have to join with one of these major parties, even if you don't agree with it politically or ideology wise. And I've had quite a lot of. I had the guy from Kilkenny Radio ask me this actually, where he was sort of like, and there's an argument that Sinn Féin has brought up where they're like, if yous are all so similar or yous can get along with being gay, why don't you just join them in a 32 county Ireland, which I think is quite ridiculous. I've asked, I once asked a Fianna Gael man, would you want to join the IUP because he supports it, and he said absolutely not. I'm still a Republican, which sort of sums it all up, doesn't it? Because it's like you're asking Unionists to join up with a Republican Party, something that is the complete opposite of everything that they believe in. And it's just definitely not a proper answer to the question of what happens to the Unionist community within the 32 County Ireland. But yeah, thought I'd just get that out of the way.
I suppose, Tristan, I'd ask, what do you think, the steps towards normalizing unionism in the Republic of Ireland? What are the main ones? How can we make this, not something that could be sneered at, but something that people respect and acknowledge as, a real belief of many of us?
I would definitely actually saying it's going to sound a wee bit, you know, bit much, but I would definitely say that the best thing a lot of Southerners can do, because I was talking to a Dublin man, and I had asked him, have you ever been to Belfast? And he said no. And I said, have you ever been to Enniskillen? And he says no. And it turns out that, and this is actually a recurring thing with a lot of people who have these like very strong opinions on the North, who say they support their Irish brothers in the North and they would support the IRA campaign and all that. A lot of these people, whenever I ask them, have you ever been up north? Either they've been to a very small community in the north on the border, which like normally is just like a wee village, which happened whenever I asked a rather old man on this question. And then the Dubliner, whenever I asked him, and he was like 30, he was almost 30, and he was studying like about history and everything. And I asked him, since you have such strong opinions on the North, have you ever been up there? And he says, no. And I asked him why. And he says, because I have a very free state opinion on it. And I don't know what he meant by that. So it's like,
no, that's definitely that's definitely very true. I've obviously grown up. I was in when I was in secondary school. Everyone had their opinion about the IRA, the so-called freedom fighters and all this, and none of them have ever actually been to Northern Ireland, which is what it's comedy gold, as somebody said in chat. It's just a bit weird. It's kind of like, it's almost as if they feel like we have to be like this. We're gonna we have to support our brothers up the north, Northern Ireland, all this stuff. But in reality, they don't really care. They never been there, have no real plans to go there either.
yeah.
It's a bit of a joke.
I mean, I've now travelled across basically all of Northern Ireland at this point, and because I had to get to learn the place quite a lot, and I now know plenty about it. Um, it's very interesting because even like some of these like Republican videos online, they'll show certain areas of Northern Ireland that I suddenly, it snaps into my head that I know where that is, and I'm like, that's not even a Republican area. It's actually a very strong Unionist DUP voting area that they've shown as in their Republican propaganda video. It's I would just honestly recommend that a lot of people try to visit Northern Ireland. I mean, even if you don't think you're going to like it, you probably will. I would say Enniskillen is definitely up there on what you need to visit. I would say honestly, it's the best place to go in Northern Ireland. It's either that or just the North Coast. One of them two would be the best places to go. Tyrone, there's not very much to do there. um, no Fermanagh biased on that one, like. But another thing I think that can help normalize unionism is if we just sort of whenever there's like a event like a let's say let's say in November or whenever we're having to remember the fallen, uh, we could have people handing out poppies and everything, and it would sort of if they asked what's your views, you would say I'm a unionist, but I understand that a lot of people who wanted a republic also died in battle. So I say we need to remember both of them, no matter the political views of those fallen men, because they all died, to protect Europe from German tyranny. Um, there's plenty of ways that you can normalize unionism in the South through little things, making like social gatherings and everything. It's going to be those little things that will need to be necessary to normalize this movement. But yeah.
Yeah, sure. I hope not tomorrow, not the next day, not next year, probably not the year after that, but at some point, I could say, yeah, I'm Irish. Yeah, I'm a unionist, and I'm also British, and there should be no problems with that. Nobody's going to try to nose up at. I'm just going to go, okay. I don't think there should ever be a problem with that. And hopefully, we can normalize it a little bit. Just a little bit. People now are aware that let's be honest, people just assume that the IUP was a bunch of northern lads pretending to be southern lads. In reality, it's not the case, as you can clearly hear from us three. I want you to really think about what's so wrong about us being unionists. What does that make you uncomfortable, and if so, why? Ask yourself that. Why should it make you uncomfortable? It really shouldn't. Just as Irish as you are, and just please accept it a little bit. I get people are going to make a joke, laughing joke about it because it's something new. You're not used to it. That's fine. But again, it's same. Hopefully, we can just normalize it a little bit. And you guys, now you are aware that we do exist, so it's already becoming a little bit normal for you. So yeah.
Guy said that he would go to meet up. As I said, some of our future like specific events, not just like random meetups. I mean, like specific timed, dated events at certain areas. I will be posting to my Twitter and saying this is here. If you want to just come down and say hi, or maybe just grab a pint, then it's an option.
Yeah. I've not had the opportunity to go just yet, but definitely would love to meet everyone. Be nice.
Yeah, that was one of the things. We were meant to get a whole pile of men down to that whole Dublin thing.
Yeah.
So it was literally, I think we had around 7 or 6 men planned to go to there, and then it turned out that only like 3 of us showed up due to literally the trains being overbooked and then work coming in the way for like most of them because with the IUP movement so far, it's either been very young people or it's been people that have like full-time jobs and don't really have much spare time. So it's but yeah, I'd just like to say thank you for everyone to be coming out to this stream. I know it's been rather awkward, and we will be having more members on next time. You'll be able to hear some new voices. from other parts of the island who are part of the Irish Unionist movement, and they'll, you know, they'll show their views on unionism and share their experiences and plans. Um, we will be having guests on in future streams, but I guess we will take questions if anyone has any.
I seen Ushi and Mahoney said, whereabouts did you meet up? Was it just the one? Was it just in Dublin? Was it?
Well, the one I was inviting you to was in Dublin.
Yeah, that was in Dublin. Yeah, I remember that.
I've met up people in. I've talked to people of sort of unionist views in Monaghan and Leitrim before, and probably the biggest one we had was definitely the one in Limerick, which is why I'm going back again, because we got even more new members from Limerick.
Brilliant.
So I mean, at the moment, Limerick branch is the one that is making up the majority of the party. Hopefully, we get some more members from the other areas.
Yeah, be great to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not seeing any more questions, to be honest. I will be going to Donegal as well in future to hand out some of these flyers or leaflets. They're just pretty simple things that I've got the contact details on them, and just sort of lists some of the things that some of our members believe in and want to get back for Ireland. And hopefully we should get a big membership boom out of that, because I recently came in contact with a Donegal man who has some pretty good contacts, and you should be able to maybe we were able to sort out something in the future where do some go into the streets and start handing out some of these flyers.
Yeah. Well, you done that in Dublin, didn't you? On stage, and that went
Yeah.
very well. I saw here. Yeah, nice.
It went all right. Had some very mixed views in Dublin.
To be expected, obviously, to be expected. Yeah.
One of my friends is brand new to handing out flyers, so whenever he handed one of them over to a lady, she stops. And because he didn't know what to do, because he never expected her to stop, he just stopped in front of her. And they just both sort of stood there. And she said some very nasty words to him, and then politely handed the flyer back. But in the other hand, we had a lady saw one of our stickers up, and she looked over at us, and she actually smiled and waved. And so I think that made her day. So it was a very mixed response, because I have to make this clear, because I know in the newspaper it made it sound like all Republicans in the South, they're always threatening unionism and all that. It's not always the case. I think, and I honestly do believe this, that a majority of Republicans in the South, of Fianna Gael and Fianna Fáil like beliefs and all that, or even just some socialists that I've spoken to. I mean, some of them are all right. They won't threaten you over your beliefs. I think a lot of people are actually all right with it. I think it's just these radicals that have been coming out of the recent elections that are causing the big issues for unionism to be actually possible in the South.
Let me take a few questions, are we?
Yeah.
I seen one. Just find it now again. Where like the major areas is support in the Republic of Ireland, which regions, counties?
Where's that?
Let me see now if I find it.
I'll put it on screen.
It says here, which area had the strongest levels of support for use? By Ryan.
Limerick by far.
Would be Limerick for sure, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it actually blasts out all the rest of you, and honestly one of the smallest support we've gotten was from the border counties so far,
Yeah.
which is completely just sort of I didn't expect it.
Yeah. What would be the second?
Second, I'd say near the Dublin area.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I'd be it. Um, I would. I definitely have to go to Donegal to try and get some of them on board because I
Yeah, for
feel like,
sure.
yeah, I feel like we're definitely not tapping like something that could be very beneficial. Um, is there any other questions you can see?
I see another one from Connell. You know, Connell's saying a lot of negative things. Will you be standing for election to see if you have any significant support from the Irish people?
We're aiming to. If we can get enough names down in time for this election, we will definitely be standing for election. It's all about getting down the names and addresses and confirmed people of age to sign up to the party because you need 100 names for local, which we're over a quarter of the way there so far, but we need 300 for national. So that's why I definitely need to go to Donegal and Monaghan to try and get down just the names of
Yeah.
people from like Drum or uh, Rathole and all that who would definitely be the big names in there. Uh,
I seen a question. What was that turned me towards unionism as somebody from the Republic? I'd say for me, I won't lie. Now I do have half my family would be from England, so I would have spent a decent amount of time there when I was younger. And the first thing I kind of noticed was that these people aren't they're not different at all. They're very they're very similar to me. They're not at all different. When I grew up a little bit, I started realizing that there's not really any major differences between us as people. So I don't understand a lot of the animosity between Irish people and English people. Not everyone, of course. Don't get it wrong. Uh, I firmly believe we are very much so as same people. We're we have a lot in common. It doesn't really make sense for me why we should be so divided. I really think we should seek, for one, closer links and connections with the UK. Uh, I feel again very very close to all British people, especially people from Northern England. Uh, so that would have been the main one, I suppose. As well as when I studied the history a little bit more, I kind of came to the conclusion that the history I was taught in school was a bit very one sided, obviously biased towards Republicans. Uh, learn about the Easter Rising and all that. It's everyone sees it as this heroic act and whatever. And whatever your opinion on that is, we won't get into it. Uh, I have my opinions. I'm not gonna start voicing them all crazy now, but I do think that the way history is taught in the Republic of Ireland, it's very one-sided, and that kind of leaves that kind of animosity between a lot of young Irish people and British people. We kind of tend to blame the British on everything. Oh, you done this and that. I think I think that needs to go. And I think if you get rid of that animosity, I think we are very, very, very similar, very similar. And I do think I would much rather be in union with the rest of the British Isles than I would be in the European Union, which I've nothing in common with any of these people. And that's just the truth. I feel no affinity with the other people of the European Union, none at all. So for me, it's just kind of the common sense. I feel like again, everyone sneers, throws their nose up at the UK. Ireland rejoining the UK. Yeah, it's it's a lofty goal, obviously. But even just seeking closer relations make me very satisfied. I want people in Great Britain to realize that not everyone is obsessed in the wrong way. Having hatred for you as a person. A lot of us here that feel have a lot of affinity for you, have a lot of respect for you, feel very much so like we're the same people. And I feel like that very much. So I feel very 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 like I'm a British person like anyone else.
yeah. I just wanted to say, John McNamara. I mean, I've seen him on other streams. Um, This guy brings up actually a pretty interesting point about unionism, and I wanted to say this to so many of the news interviews. Like I genuinely wanted to say this because it's a very thing that everyone always mistakes about unionism. That because the thing about unionism is the same thing with republicanism. Unionism is not restricted by a single ideology. You don't have to be sort of like capitalistic to be a unionist. You don't have to be overly conservative to be a unionist. Unionism is based on the principles of staying within the union, the British Union. So in the IUP, we have people who are very much so very strict conservatives, and then we have people who would be more of very socialist and liberal. But I I mean, it's a our whole entire like principles. I would honestly have to leave it up to debate within the party, and I've said this to people who join the party. Whenever you join in, there will be a lot of sort of inner debating because it's all sort of seeing what the majority of the party agrees upon, and then that goes as an official stance. So I would say some of the things in there I wouldn't agree with, but other members would, and so it becomes a part of the party uh, actual stances. Um, yeah, is there? There's a lot of paragraph going on in the chat.
Yeah, a lot of
Uh-oh.
Connell's saying a lot of negative things, which to be expected, obviously. Catch a grip, you fool! The empire is finished. It's not about the empire. That's a bit of a ridiculous statement, to be honest.
Yeah.
Very ridiculous. Shouldn't have really given that attention. Very ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a lot of that goes on, especially on Twitter. Twitter's a very interesting platform, I'll say that much.
I haven't talked in a while.
Yeah.
But when Jim Fitzgerald said about us being a junior partner and Wales and Scotland not being happy, well, that is wrong. It's only their parliament that does not like it. If you actually went to them countries, talk to the people there, they will have a lot of different things to say compared to the parliaments that they have.
I mean, Scotland and Wales, it's very mixed on whether they're happy or not, like within the United Kingdom. And I imagine it would be very much the same within United Ireland, only it'd be the opposite way around. It'd be if the Republicans got their way within United Ireland, they have to accept this fact that they would have a similar situation where they would have a massive, and I mean it is a massive group of Irish people that see themselves as Unionists. If you're counting in the northern demographics, you would have this massive group of people that would take up a big part of the Dáil because the rest of the Republican parties are completely split up into all these other parties because you have the more liberal Republicans and you have the more right wing, and you would have this massive group that would want to rejoin the UK. So whenever Republicans go like, oh, but look at Scotland and Wales, and I'm saying, yes, those areas, look at them. They have a Republican Party, or yeah, a party that wants an independent sort of republic going on, and then you have the bits that want it to stay in the Union. And the way I see it is that Ireland needs the same thing. We need a Unionist Party, and the Republican opposition, and we need to have the option to have a vote whenever. And I'm not saying that it probably wouldn't happen for a very long time if you know the option still needs to be there for the Unionists to have the chance to vote to rejoin United Kingdom, because otherwise you're just having it the one way and you're not allowing them to reverse the action.
Yeah. It's a question by he asked it 10 times. He says, Joey, he says, lads, I've asked this question about 10 times. What are the benefits of unionism? Which I think is a very good question. A tough one as well.
I mean, there's a lot of benefits, but I mean, a lot of the benefits you could get the same with working with EU, but there are some other benefits that you cannot at all get with working with the EU, especially with the Commonwealth passports. You can't get any of those benefits whenever being a part of the EU. I would definitely say the opportunities that gives is honestly, and I need to look into getting one because that would be honestly a massive benefit to just my everyday life. And I would honestly recommend everyone to start looking into getting those because it gives you benefits to work overseas and to other job opportunities, and can actually like get you quite high up there with your work. Also, the cooperation with England, which Ireland already has a massive trade with. Obviously, there's people that would say, but Ireland doesn't need England." And if I said that to any of my dad's connections in the south, they would probably scoff at me for even suggesting that they don't need England to run their business, because a lot of people in Ireland, especially major business owners, rely on trade with England, which has actually massively affected it, especially with this whole Brexit thing. A lot of the Irish business owners have been contemplating it, especially the ones I know of, have been contemplating on moving over it. And a lot of them have been rather doing trade with the North to try and sneak their way into getting around the whole sea border issue. But there's a lot of benefits to unionism, honestly. The only questions is which ones do we have that not being a part of the union, like which ones do we have above that? I don't know. That's just my opinion on it.
Yeah.
If any of you want to make a comment.
It's definitely a tough question. Like, you wouldn't want to bundle it, I think,
All right, fair enough.
I suppose we're talking, a union. If we were to, rejoin the United Kingdom, obviously, economy is a big one, right? And if we, I know it's something brought up a lot. I know I don't want to bring it up. Just it's sad, right? But obviously Dublin is, it's going through a bit of a disaster at the moment. We all know about this. Not only homelessness and all that, but rent prices and stuff like that. I think with that boosted economy, we could definitely mitigate some of that, some of them issues. Homelessness, which is again is severe, very severe. And I just don't think the Irish government, have the. They don't have. They definitely have the power to, but for some reason they're not. This is ridiculous, and it shouldn't be like this, and yet it is. I think we're, extra funds, extra. We can definitely mitigate this problem a lot because it's ridiculous. Especially me being so close to Dublin, I know for a fact people are moving all over. I'm from County Louth. From the southern part of County Louth, we have a lot of people from Dublin moving to Louth, which is that's a decent commute, in the morning time, because Dublin you just can't live in Dublin anymore. It's too expensive, far too expensive, and that leaves a lot of people without homes, unfortunately.
I remember. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, whenever we were leaving Dublin, because I, of course, don't live near Dublin, so I had to leave there after handing out the leaflets and everything. I remember whenever we were leaving, we were having a difficult time to get across, the bridges, because there was a massive protest there over the whole homeless crisis issue in Dublin. It's definitely a better topic, especially for a lot of people that would be of Republican views. Because I remember I was talking to a Dubliner about that, and he says, "Don't want to disagree with you, but I also have to disagree with you because it's something that a lot of people there are very passionate about, because it is a massive issue."
Of course. There's a question here. What is your hopes for the IUP in the next few years? What's the what's the hopes? What's the ideal? I suppose. What would be the ideal? Where would the IUP in an ideal situation? Where would it be in the next few years? If all goes perfectly well.
All goes perfectly well.
Yeah, well, we know that's not going to happen, but
Well, if all goes perfectly well, we're back in the United Kingdom, but that's not.
Yeah.
I guess that's if something magical happened. But no, actual hopes and actual expectations of what's going to happen is we're able to register the party, whether it's going to be in time or not. Because I don't know if we're going to be like a month behind the election or if only just like we'll miss it by like a few weeks. But I'm hoping we get it done in time. Because the main difficulty about it is that you have to be able to confirm each name on there, and with some of our members, and they're sort of pretty secretive because, of course, they don't trust everyone in the group because, uh, you know, they don't want to be outed out as a unionist just yet. Um, but hopefully, we are able to register the party by the Irish election time. And hopefully, we might be able to take part in the Irish election. If we are, I hope to try and win maybe a wee, like, a wee victory in the Monaghan area and in Leitrim and also in Donegal.
Yeah.
I'm going to be aiming for those areas, but I will still wait. Like, obviously, we'd be running everywhere that we possibly can, so that would include Louth and Limerick.
Well, Loud might be a bit of a tough one. We had Chuck the Dollar for a few years was Jerry Adams himself. So
Sure,
Republican
that'd be
county, but
interesting. We Irish Unionists put on stage next to Jerry Adams in the middle of the debate.
yeah.
I'm sure you'll be overly thrilled.
I suppose Tristan, like a personal question, because I can weigh in on my experience. What's it like when you are in the Republic of Ireland as a unionist, and you kind of see how the Irish people they kind of have a distorted view on Ireland's role in the union itself. It was part of the union proper for 124 years, right? And it's kind of seen as a blur of just colonialism. That's it, everything bad. But in reality, we have a lot of history there. For example, for me, when I see when I try to talk to people about Ireland's history during that 124-year period, most people don't really know a thing about it. They don't know nothing about it. No, and it's only the bad stuff, only the pure bad stuff. Which again, don't get me wrong. Obviously, there's a lot of the horrific stuff, right? Very, very, very bad stuff, unforgivable stuff. We can't. I'm not going to make excuses, right? But there's a lot of good stuff as well, during that period that is completely forgotten about and airbrushed out. It's been airbrushed out. You don't learn about it in school. We only learn. Coming from the Republic, obviously, the stuff we learn in school would be, we learn about the famine, World War One, obviously. That's it. There's nothing else. That 124-year history, the Easter Rising as well, of course, but everything else is airbrushed out. We learn nothing about it. Nothing, which I think is a shame. I think more if more people were, if they knew more about that 124-year history, it wasn't everything. Everything wasn't just horrific and bad. Just normal people living their lives in the union. Everyone was a gung ho Republican. That's kind of how it's perceived today. That everyone was out there trying to get independence constantly. In reality, that's not the case. It just wasn't the case.
I was talking to some of the Dublin Orangemen about this sort of thing. I remember I was talking to one of the Kilkenny Orangemen, and he was sort of like, "Oh, why are you no longer in Kilkenny?" I was just like, "Could you have a guess?" And he says, "Oh, it was a gun thing." I'm like, "Yeah." And we laughed over it. But it honestly, some of the things I hear Republicans in the South say, and I've had an instant where I try meeting up with a Republican, and then they know I'm about to arrive, and whenever I do arrive, they just refuse to speak to me, and I don't know what that's about. Maybe they're feeling embarrassed or something, or they maybe just realize, oh, maybe I'm not right on this thing. But honestly, it's honestly, I have a lot of disbelief, like that. I would honestly hope that Republicans in the South know better about their history, but a lot of them will just say stuff like, "Oh, use our oppressors in the North," and
right, exactly.
the evil British Army," and I'm just like,
Yeah.
you would hope that they're joking. I would hope that they would just suddenly turn around and say, "Ah, I got you," but it is a serious issue in the South that a lot of people just don't understand their history, and a lot of them just because of how the schooling system works, it has to teach this one
Absolutely.
view.
Yeah, exactly. We learn about the Dublin lockout. We wouldn't learn about home rule. That Irish people would actually stay in the UK. A devolved parliament. No, that can't be. That wasn't talked about at all. At least in my in my experience, that's just something that was airbrushed out again. It was independence or it was nothing. It wasn't. Home rule was the usual stuff.
I mean, Matthew, what would you say about your schooling experience on history?
Well, they didn't teach us anything about unionism. They didn't teach us the fact that Clare had a lot of unionism in it until a good few years later when I started researching into it. And there was unionist clubs, orange orders. There was also unionist politicians such as Harry Valentine and I believe George Callahan, who were two unionists who did not want home rule to go around. So what I'll say is they don't teach any other history except the one shown.
Yeah, it's definitely a one-sided history for sure. Definitely.
I
Yeah.
remember,
Especially when I went to school and the Christian Brothers, Catholic school. You learn about, you learn about would be basically. Let me just think back. You wouldn't, the acts of union and none of that stuff. You wouldn't learn about that. And obviously, it's something that shapes even modern Ireland today. But that's completely airbrushed. Nobody knows about this. Unionism, of course, nobody knows about this. I'd say absolutely most people in the South are very ignorant, towards unionism. They don't understand. They obviously don't know the history. They don't really care either. For being completely honest, most people in the South, it's very disconnected. If you're living in, Wexford or something, it may as well be America up there, right? That's just the truth. But it was we'd sit down, we'd be singing around the Veen, talking about the volunteers and all this. You wouldn't hear about the UVF, the original UVF aren't like this. The fact that Irish people could be against independence was, it was always seen as no. It was very much so just English people deciding that no, you're not getting independence, stay here. The people who live in there obviously didn't want independence either, right? But we don't know about this. We don't learn about this. That's why a lot of people say, "Oh, the English are occupying Northern Ireland." It's just a very, 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 very one-sided understanding of history. Not really much of an understanding at all, to be honest. Just a narrative that the oppressors are still oppressing us. In reality, it's not like that at all.
I mean, in my early teen years, I mostly spent my time learning about Republican history. Uh, I even have a book on Tom Barry somewhere here. Um, but I spent a lot of my time learning about Republicanism, and then I decided to learn about Unionism and the British history.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that, I mean, my father, who's a lifelong Unionist, he was the one who originally owned that Tom Barry book. He owns a bunch of IRA books, but he's an absolute Unionist because the most important thing about politics is to learn about all sides as possible. You need to learn the history of all the sides before you start making up your minds on who was right, who was wrong, and start pointing fingers and condemning groups of people. Like it's just that's something that I think a lot of the republic's education is missing. And to be honest, comparing the republic's education to the Northern Irish education system, I would definitely say Northern Irish education systems are a lot less biased because in Northern Ireland you're taught about the United Irishmen, you're taught about all this from most likely a Republican teacher, uh, but then you're also taught about you have like a veteran who comes in and he'll tell you about his experience during the Troubles. I mean, I think that is what the Republic's missing on their history lesson, which is why you have so many just ignorant people that just do not half the time know what the hell they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Northern Irish Republican who had his education himself, and he says to me, um, he was pointing the finger at me like, "Oh, look what you've done." And it was about the penal laws. And I said to him, "You're aware I am Calvinist, right? I'm of Calvinist faith." And then he says, "Aye, but look at the penal laws. Look what your ancestors done." Which, if you don't understand the irony on that, is that the penal laws uh, persecuted Calvinists and Catholics equally. It was the whole point of the law, actually, was to get rid of Protestant dissidents and other religions that would stray away from the Anglican Church, which the fact that some Republicans wouldn't even know that is actually absolutely baffling, and especially about the United Irishmen, which was most of their principles was founded based on Calvinist and Presbyterian views, which a lot of Republicans would not know that, which is a bit, it's baffling to me. It is honestly baffling to me. Anyways, I'm going to stop ranting and let one of you all speak.
No harm. Suppose other question would be, how do you feel? Do you think Ireland? I have my opinion on it, of course. I think very much so. It was worse off. But Ireland in the few years after leaving the union, do you think it was? I think it was a mistake. I think it was fueled by obviously a lot of hatred. But in reality, when you really think about it, it was kind of like something people decided to do just based off of, all right, let's get the Brits out kind of thing, and then afterwards we were stuck with this kind of well, our country's kind of not in a great shape here, and then they're going to enter into a trade war with England. It's just kind of, I don't understand. I definitely think it was we kind of have this thing again. If you just come back to the Republic of Education, that when we left the UK, everything was sunshine and rainbows. It's not really the case, was it? Let's be honest, it really wasn't. And I kind of don't understand why. And don't get me wrong, look, I'm not ever going to belittle the famine and all these horrible events, right? But how are you going to throw away a perfectly good situation you had? Ireland was, in 1914, very much so an equal partner in the Union. How are you going to throw away all this? And then you step into poverty, as an independent country with not much going on, small nation, with the sole purpose is there was a famine, like however long, like 80, 90 years ago. We're just going to, this is the reason now we're going to throw all this away. It's because of famine from 80, 90 years ago, this kind of thing, and the penal laws and stuff like that. And as much as I sympathize, and I think it's horrible, I think it was a kind of very stupid thing to do. We're gonna lead this, this secure nation that we're part of, we've been part of for a long time, that we're very secure and the unified people, and then throw it away for what? I know Rome Rule is thrown around quite a bit, but it's very, very true. Let's be honest, Rome Rule was kind of what happened after independence, and I think even up to the 70s, the country wasn't really great off, was it? It was kind of the EU who saved us. When you think about it, I think leaving the union was a big mistake, fueled by stuff that happened hundreds of years ago, right? It was very silly in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely say there are some serious questions on the EU sort of aspect of things, especially since how much Ireland, we're not very voluntarily attached to it at this point. It's either we'd be a part of it or we'll face bankruptcy sort of situation with the EU at this point, which is, as you said, it was the main thing that actually ended up saving Ireland, because they gave us a bunch of loans and all that. And we sort of threw it all away on the current situation in Dublin. Housing issues now. We built too many hotels and all these sort of big tourist attractions, not paying attention to the local housing or caring about the local housing. It's a big issue. Yeah. I mean, if the Republicans back in the time, as you said, that Ireland at a point was almost equal to the rest of the United Kingdom, the Republicans were smart about that. They should have stayed in for another 20 years or maybe even 30 years, so they would have been able to set up everything within Ireland, all the businesses, get all the train situation sorted out, get all the companies made, and then after they've had everything sorted out and Ireland has a fully independent inner economy, then leave the United Kingdom. But of course, the Republicans were already, too anxious to get out, and what followed was civil war, a famine in Connacht, joblessness, a trade war of England, and then it all eventually led up to Ireland being borderline bankrupt, and then having to rely on English companies to this very day, and then having to give up the rest of our economy to the EU and just have it basically control our economy. It could have been massively easily avoided if the Republicans back in the 1920s and 14 did just maybe calm down a wee bit and maybe gave up less or maybe just done less of the shooting and all that and just more focused on the economy aspect of things. But anyways, this stream has been going on for an hour now. This was actually over what we had planned originally. I'll let you both sort of say some last points if you want.
Yeah, sure. Just Joey says, can you honestly say that you can't see the atrocities of the British Empire upon Ireland as grounds for emancipation? Joey, what I was trying to say was, obviously we all know, like, and it's horrific and it's not to be excused, what happened in Ireland during that period, right? I'm not ignorant of that. I know. But my point was, from a perspective of somebody living in 1914, right? Why would you throw away what you have for something that might not even work on the grounds of something that happened so long ago, right? Do you get what I'm trying to say? When when the period of 1914, there was no atrocities being committed against Irish people. Do you know what I'm saying? It was, I'm not going to say it was very distant history or distant past. It was obviously, like World War II to us now, right? I just thought that was a bit foolish, because again, Ireland was in a bad state. The Irish Free State, it was a bad spot after independence, and that's not, nobody can convince me otherwise. Again, my parents grew up in that Ireland, 1960s, 1970s. It wasn't sunshine and rainbows at all, and I definitely think we would have been better off if we stayed in the Union. And that's just my opinion on it. You can disagree all you want, and I'm just voicing my opinion.
Matthew, is there anything you want to maybe add before we start wrapping this up?
I have nothing more to add to it.
Start her, lads.
I think we better be wrapping this up. I know we have like a pretty live audience right now, but like we've been running on for an hour, like, and I only wanted this to be a short wee introductory stream. We will be having bigger guests on in future, which I hope to get some of the Limerick branch on here.
Great to see.
Yeah, and maybe even get the guest Brian Spencer, who has shown interest on coming onto stream, or maybe just get some people who are a part of social groups in the South on. You know, Sort of this has been quite a chaotic stream. We will try to get it more organized. This was just like sort of a first introductory stream to show what we'd be sort of doing. I do appreciate everyone coming out. Some showed their support, some didn't, and I'm glad that even the opposition came out because at the end of the day, the IUP is here to be that unionist voice that would take part as a 32 county unionist party. Now, whether the opposition, cares or not, it's a pretty the options out there. But anyways, thank you everyone for coming out to this stream, and I will be in future having these guys back on whenever.
Yeah.
If you guys want to come to any future events, we will be announcing it on the Twitter and on the Facebook group. Some of the events, some of them won't be public, so if it's not public, then it's probably just going to be a wee meet up, so it's nothing too serious. But anyways, hopefully a future event soon enough. And
thanks for joining, lads. Thanks for sticking around. It's been an hour. It's been a long time. I appreciate you being here.
We were only planning to go for like 30 to 40 minutes, but we went over the hour mark. So thank you all for turning out.
Absolutely. Right. See you all later. God bless and stay safe.
Good luck, lads.